Hey, Stacy here. I just wanted to. I have a few people always ask me, why I love Gibson guitars so much. Um, well, my love for Gibsons started when I was a teenager, I guess. Maybe earlier than that. I seen Chuck Berry on a HBO special way back when we had cable boxes and floor TVs. And I seen him doing that little duck walk he always does, and or did. And after that, I just wanted to be able to do that. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I told my grandfather I wanted to learn guitar. I wanted a guitar. I guess at the time I didn't know much about learning, but I knew I wanted a guitar so I could do that. Um, Well, okay, weird. Anyway, excuse that. My dog getting in. But anyway, like I said, so my grandfather ended up buying me a Harmony Stella acoustic. Brought it home one day, had it behind his back. And, I went outside on the porch and he pulled it out from behind his back and handed it to me. He goes, "Here you go." He said, "You wanted a guitar, I got you one." So he said, "If you learn to play this thing," he said, "I'll buy you another one. We'll buy you something a little better. You get good on that, we'll just keep buying you something a little better." So I had that for a while and I started plunking around on it. And so probably mid 80s, late 80s, something. So I got into that, and I so I started picking out little melodies and stuff on it. So eventually, I think I'd saved my allowance and grass cutting money or whatever I did at the time to get some money. And, sure, my grandparents jumped in on it too, but I got a Memphis guitar. It was a one pickup Memphis with a tremolo, and the thing was terrible and broke strings all the time, and I just made a bunch of noise with it. That's all I did. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just making noise. So eventually I drove them crazy enough that they got me some lessons. and I guess we figured out I needed a little better guitar than that one. So I found me a Hondo Les Paul copy. That was it was an ebony 2 pickup thing, and I played that thing forever. I got pretty good on it, and took some lessons so I could get better. Used to take lessons from a man named Harry Graham, and he's still out there playing. Incredible guitar player, note for note teacher type of guy, but incredible. So I took for him for a while, and he's like, "You can figure this out on your own. You don't need me." So I had a really good ear, still have a decent ear. I don't exercise it as much as I used to, but anyway, so I moved on from there, and I had saved all my summer money from working, helping my grandfather at his auto body shop, and they had a guitar up at it was Shallow Music at the time in Mount Juliet, and they're still there. They've moved a couple times, but same people. But I drove them crazy on a daily basis. Every day after school, I'd go down there. But they moved to in between Hermitage and Mount Juliet, and at that time, Big Mike Griffin was working there during the day, and so I would go up there and make a bunch of racket, and drove them crazy. But anyway, the owner, George, at the time had told me he said, we need to get you into a little better guitar. He said, I think you're ready for a Gibson. And I was like, I don't even know. I didn't know anything. I just knew Chuck Berry played a Gibson. So I was like, well, I don't know. And it was a cool guitar. It was a Sonics Deluxe 180. I still have it. And had really hot pickups and candy apple red, black pick guard. And I've changed it since then. But so I got that guitar, and I upgraded my amp and got all into playing music and started jamming with some friends. And later on got in a band called Wizard. It was my first band. Oh, kind of, I guess my first band. I kind of jammed with this guy for a little while. We had a little Southern rock thing we were trying to do. It just never worked out. But so anyway, I found these guys, and they were a band called Wizard, and played with them for a while. We played all over Nashville. Kind of a classic rock vibe, but it was all original material, and we played really loud. Didn't play any covers, but had me and another guitar player and a bass player and drums. So the drummer sang, and once in a while the bass player would sing. But that was one of my first bands, and that was my Les Paul, and I had a Randall RG80 and a 412 cabinet that I'd built in wood shop in high school. I don't have the 412 cabinet anymore. Sad to say, I wish I'd kept it, but I wanted to upgrade to a better 412 cabinet. So I sold it and bought me something else. And I had that for a while. But anyway, so time went on. Yeah. And my grandfather at the time, I told him I liked Chuck Berry, and he said, well, he plays a Gibson. And I was like, I know, I see that. And he said, well, maybe one day, he said, they're here in Nashville. He said, maybe one day you can work for them. And I was like, wow. I said, that would be awesome, but I never thought another thing about it. So anyway, I ended up worked for McDonald's for about 3 years, managed McDonald's, did that. And at the time, Gibson was hiring, so there was a man that rented a duplex from my father, and he worked at Gibson. And he said, why don't you come down there and fill out an application? And he said, I'll try to get you on. I thought, well, okay, I guess, so I did. And I got the job. And so I've been working at Gibson Guitars since 1994. And so I started out working for Epiphone, and I worked there for 90 days. And then one of the guys at Gibson, our desks were back to back, Epiphone's desk, and then on the other side of the warehouse, Gibson's desk. We were kind of split down the middle. And so there was this guy that kept bugging the boss. He said, we need to get the kid over here. He kept calling me the kid. He said, we need to get the kid over here. He's too good to be working for Epiphone. But he bugged him every day. And he said, you need to get transferred over here to Gibson. And the boss man said, I'll try to see what I can do. And he came back to me. He said, I don't have a spot for inspector for the guitars, but he said, I got a packing spot. And he said, maybe later on you can move to inspection. Well, long story short, I ended up working in the warehouse and packing guitars and loading trucks and unloading trucks and driving tow motors and taking care of the warehouse for 20 years, my first 20 years. And yesterday was my 31st anniversary. Yeah, so anyway. At the time, I guess, they needed a inspector, so the plant manager kept bugging me, and or somebody kept telling him, hey, you need to get this guy, he needs to be in quality control. So they the warehouse manager and the plant manager at the time, they kind of went back and forth a little bit, because I knew how to do all the jobs in the warehouse. He didn't want to let me go. So, but they went back and forth for a little while, and finally he went and got the paperwork, and he said, "You're now in QC." He said, "That's where I want you, and that's where you're going to be." I said, "Yes, sir." And so they couldn't fight over me anymore. So, and ever since I've been there. So yeah, so about 11 years now, I guess I've been in quality control, but I did it off and on when they needed somebody, but I never could get in it permanently, so it just took a while. Yeah. So, but yeah, and I've got lots of Gibsons now. So I've had every make and model under the sun. Still have a bunch of them, and but Gibson has always been the one for me. So teach their own. I'm not trying to force Gibsons down anybody's throat, but they are a great guitar. And yes, they're pricey, I know, and I get that all the time. There's nothing I can do about that. What I can tell you is do like I did. I just traded up. I saved my money and I traded up. I saved my money and I traded up. I just kept trading, until I could get another Gibson. So, that's one way to do it. And, I didn't have money. So, and I didn't make a lot of money. So, it took me a while to be able to have what I call a decent Gibson. So, but don't give up. If you want a Gibson, go for it. There's all kinds of guitars out there, and like I say, each your own. And flavor to me is a different flavors is what I call them. Because everything sounds a little different. So it just depends on what kind of music you play or what kind of style you're going for, I guess. But I played blues on a heavy metal guitar, so you can do whatever you want. Don't let people tell you have to do something. You have to play a certain kind of guitar. But investment wise, yeah, I'm going with the Gibson. So it doesn't matter if you don't play it. You can put it on your bed and pull it out in 20 years, and it's going to be worth probably 4 times what you paid for it, maybe 5 times, just depending on what model it is. So they're always a good investment, and I know they're expensive these days, but there's still a lot of good deals out there. You can find them on Craigslist and Reverb, and some people like me sell them on YouTube too. So but yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. But explore all your options. But yeah, Gibson guitars, yeah, I love them. I know how they're made. I've seen how they're made. I've made them. I've done it. Repaired them. I've done it all. So it's an incredible journey that I've had with Gibson, and I can't really complain because they've paid my bills for a long time. Are there things that I could complain about? Sure. Yeah, that's with any company, but I can say they've gotten better over the years. Some things have taken a long time to come around and make better, but it's been a challenge for Gibson. But having when KKR bought Gibson, it took us a while to get their heads wrapped around what we needed to change. So, and we've slowly proven it and changed over the time. So there's nothing that brings more joy to me to see somebody come in there touring and they get to play one of our guitars and see their faces light up and just they're just amazed at how we build them and how much effort we put into making a Gibson. So it's not an easy task, and it's incredible to see it done from wood to the finished product. There's plenty of tours of Gibson on YouTube, so you can look that up. Anyway, so but yeah, I just I grew up with Gibson, so that's kind of my thing, and I've been around it for a long time. Like I said, there's a lot of great guitars out there, but for me, I'm going to buy try to buy American made as much as I can, and I love that about Gibson. So, and like I said, it's a great investment. So I get a lot of compliments everywhere I go when I play all over the place. So anyway, hope that sheds a little light on me for you. But I guess I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.